At Thanksgiving dinner, my mom snatched my plate and said, "You don't even deserve to eat with us." My dad laughed and handed it to my brother's girlfriend. I just smiled and left. Then I did this and watched them panic. Hey, Reddit. I'd been financially supporting my parents for 4 straight years. And how did they thank me? By humiliating me at Thanksgiving. Let's just say things went way further than they ever saw coming. Grab your popcorn. This one's gonna be fun. Also, read the whole thing, because some unexpected ally decided to join the show and help me destroy them completely. I'm Alaric, 31 male. I've been working HVAC since I was 19. Started as an apprentice. Now I run my own crew for the biggest commercial contractor in the city. Good money because I'm excellent at what I do. Last month, I diagnosed a problem in a 40-story office building that 3 other crews couldn't figure out. Saved the client $50,000 and got a bonus bigger than most people's monthly salary. Been carrying my family financially while they treated me like their personal bank account with legs. Well, that garbage ended real fast. First, let me tell you about my brother Tommy. 2 years younger than me, but you'd think he was the second coming of Christ the way my parents worship him. Tommy's that guy who peaked in high school, played JV football, barely, dated the popular girls for about 5 minutes each, and somehow convinced everyone he was destined for greatness. Reality check. The only thing he was destined for was a lifetime of disappointing everyone except mom and dad. While I was busting my tail learning a trade and building something, Tommy was bouncing between community college majors like a pinball. Started with business, switched to communications, then tried entrepreneurship. But somehow, this made him a visionary in Dad's eyes. Here's the kicker. No matter how spectacularly he screwed up, he was still the golden child. Got arrested for DUI at 22? Boys will be boys. He just needs to learn. Crashed mom's car while high as a kite? He's going through a rough patch, Alaric. Show some compassion. Meanwhile, if I showed up 5 minutes late to Sunday dinner, I'd get a lecture about responsibility and family commitment that would make a drill sergeant proud. Tommy would mess something up, and guess who got voluntold to fix it? When he totaled his truck street racing some kid in a Civic, I gave up my entire vacation fund for his insurance deductible. When he got fired from his third job in 2 years for showing up drunk, I co-signed for his next apartment because family helps family. Mom always had the same excuse ready. Alaric, you're so stable. Tommy just needs more support to find his way. 4 years later, he was still finding his way, and I was still paying for his GPS, his gas, and apparently his map. My coworker Finn used to shake his head when I'd tell him about the latest Tommy crisis. Finn was this older guy, maybe 45, been in HVAC for 20 years. Guy had serious respect in the trade. Alaric, you're one of the smartest guys I know. You can solve problems nobody else can touch. You run jobs better than guys with twice your experience, but you're blind as hell when it comes to your family. It's family, Finn. That's what you do. Bull. Family respects you. What you got is parasites with Christmas cards, and you're too good a man to see it. I should have listened to him. I would have saved myself a lot of money. When I started making real money in my mid-20s, Mom called within a week. The water heater had crapped out, and they needed help with the replacement. Just a few hundred, she said. Just temporary. Just until Dad's next paycheck. Just kidding, apparently. That few hundred turned into Dad's truck repair when his transmission decided to die. Then, Tommy's rent when he got evicted for throwing parties every weekend and ticking off his neighbors. Then, his court fees when those parties resulted in noise violations and a destruction of property charge. Each time they promised it was temporary. Each time I believed them because I wanted to believe that helping my family meant they actually gave a damn about me beyond my bank account number. Before I knew it, I was covering their mortgage when Dad got laid off from the plant. That was definitely supposed to be temporary too. 3 years later, those payments were still auto-drafting from my account every month. They never asked if I could afford it. They just assumed I would handle it, the same way you assume your truck will start when you turn the key. Family dinners turned into financial planning sessions where I wasn't invited to speak. Tommy would hold court at the head of the table like some discount mob boss, complaining about his boss before he got fired. His landlord before he got evicted. He got evicted. Whatever girl wasn't appreciating his potential. Everyone would nod sympathetically and offer advice like he was solving world hunger, instead of figuring out why showing up to work impaired was frowned upon. When I mentioned work stress or thinking about buying my own place, Mom would shut me down fast. You're doing fine, Alaric. Tommy needs our support right now. Right, because God forbid Tommy experience the natural consequences of his own actions. I became invisible except when Bill showed up. The reliable son who never caused drama, never asked for help, just quietly helped. Then Tommy started dating this absolute disaster named Candace around this time. Picture this. Fake blonde hair that looked like she cut it herself, enough makeup to paint a barn, and an attitude that could peel paint. But she laughed at all his jokes and told him he was going to be a millionaire someday. So naturally, Mom thought she was perfect. She moved in with Tommy within a month, and suddenly their emergencies doubled. Her car needed repairs. Translation: she crashed it while texting. Her credit cards were maxed out. Her kid from a previous relationship needed school supplies. Alaric, honey, Tommy, and Candace are really struggling. Could you help with just a little bit for groceries this month? Mom would call, voice dripping with that special kind of guilt. Just a little bit turned into paying their utilities when Candace spent the electric money on a girls' weekend in Vegas. Then their car insurance when she decided new acrylic nails were more important than staying legal to drive. Finn would just shake his head when I'd show up to work looking like I'd been hit by a truck, because I'd spent the night calculating whether I could afford to bail Tommy out of his latest financial disaster. You know what your problem is? Finn said one day, while we were replacing a commercial unit. You think being needed is the same as being loved. It ain't. What's that supposed to mean? Means they don't love you, brother. They love your paycheck. There's a difference. Things finally imploded this Thanksgiving. It started like every other holiday in the Alaric-subsidized Sullivan household. Tommy brought Candace, who'd somehow managed to look even trashier since I'd last seen her. They'd been living together for 8 months, mostly on my dime, but she acted like she owned the place. Mom had been cooking for 2 days, house smelled like turkey and those canned cranberries she insisted on making from scratch. Walking through that door, I actually felt hopeful for a hot second. Maybe this year would be different. Yeah, it wasn't. Alaric's here, Mom announced without looking up from the stove. No hug, no, good to see you. Just acknowledgement that the walking wallet had arrived for duty. Tommy came swaggering out of the living room with a drink already in his hand at 2 p.m., Candace hanging off his arm. Well, well, look who decided to show up. How's the blue-collar life treating you, big brother? He grinned. Real nice way to greet the guy who'd been keeping his lights on for 3 years. Good, Tommy. Work's been steady. How's the job search going? I asked. Actually, me and Candace have been working on this amazing business opportunity. Tell him, babe. Oh, God. Here we go. Candace lit up. Oh my God, Alaric, you're going to love this. We're getting into cryptocurrency mining. Tommy's friend Derek has this whole setup, and we just need some startup capital to get our piece of the operation. Of course they did. Tommy had been chasing get-rich-quick schemes since high school like a dog chasing cars. Last year it was day trading. Lost his ass. Before that, it was buying and flipping cars with money he didn't have. Now it was crypto mining. Great. How much startup capital are we talking about? Just like 15 grand to start. But Derek says we could triple that in 6 months. Easy. Right. And I'm sure Derek was definitely not running some kind of scam. Dad appeared from the kitchen. There's my working boy. How's the heating and cooling business? Keeping people comfortable? Dad asked. Like he was talking to the hired help. Yeah, Dad. Just finished a big commercial job downtown. New office building. 40-unit install. That's nice. Tommy here's got some real vision, though. Going to make us all rich with this computer money thing. Right. If by vision he meant the ability to spot a scam from across a crowded room and run directly toward it, then sure, Tommy was practically a prophet. Nobody asked about my year, my work, whether I was seeing anyone, if I was happy, if I needed anything. Nobody mentioned that their Thanksgiving dinner was happening in a house I'd been essentially buying one mortgage payment at a time. When dinner got called, Mom started arranging seating. Tommy got the head of the table, Dad's old spot. Candace got the seat next to Tommy, naturally. Dad took his usual chair. Then, Mom looked at me like I was a piece of furniture she couldn't quite figure out where to put. Alaric, honey, could you grab one of the kitchen chairs? We need the spot for Candace. I stood there holding my plate, looking at the table. 6 chairs, 6 people. Math isn't that hard. Mom, there's room for everyone. Well, not really. Candace is practically family now. She should have a proper seat. This chick who'd been mooching off my money for 8 months through Tommy was practically family, while I was just... What exactly? What do you mean? I'm your son. Tommy laughed, that smug sound that had been annoying me since we were kids. Geez, Alaric, don't be such a drama queen. It's just a chair. You can sit anywhere. What are you, the Queen of England? It's Thanksgiving dinner, Tommy. Our family dinner. And Candace is part of the family now, so deal with it. Dad decided to chime in, voice getting that edge it got when he wanted to shut down any conversation that wasn't going his way. For Pete's sake, Alaric, just grab a damn chair. We're not going to sit here arguing about musical chairs like a bunch of children. But Mom wasn't done. Her fake holiday cheer dropped, and something ugly came out. You know what? Her voice went sharp and final. She reached over and literally pulled my plate out of my hands. You don't deserve to sit with us anyway. You've been selfish all year. Never call unless you want something. Show up here acting like you're doing us some big favor. The room went dead quiet, except for the sound of my brain finally processing what had just happened. Mom took my plate, my Thanksgiving dinner that I'd helped pay for with my grocery money transfers, and set it down in front of Candace like she was serving royalty. Here, sweetie. You look like you could use seconds. Candace looked uncomfortable for maybe 2 seconds before digging in. Oh my God. Mrs. Sullivan, this turkey is amazing. You're such an incredible cook. Dad started chuckling, low and mean. Damn right she is. We take care of family in this house. Tommy was recording the whole thing on his phone, probably planning to post it later with some caption about grateful for family. Something shifted in my brain. Not anger exactly, more like finally seeing things for what they really were. I smiled. Really smiled for the first time all day. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Really. This has been enlightening. I grabbed my jacket and walked out, leaving them with their perfect family moment. Candace could have my seat, my plate, and my spot in Tommy's Instagram story. Time to show them what selfish actually looked like. I drove to the nearest restaurant, went to his diner where a lot of the trade guys hung out after work. I ordered coffee and called Finn. You eating turkey with the family, or did they finally push you over the edge? He answered on the second ring. They told me I didn't deserve to eat with them. Long pause. Jesus, Alaric, please tell me you didn't just sit there and take it. I'm at Murphy's figuring out my next move. Good. You want some company? Finn showed up 20 minutes later, still wearing his work clothes. We grabbed a corner booth, and I laid out the whole story. The more I talked, the madder I got. Not just about dinner, but about everything. 4 years of being treated like a piggy bank. You know what you gotta do, Finn said after I finished. Scorched earth, brother. Finn, they're my family. If I hear you one more time calling these leeches family again, I will punch you in the throat. Real family doesn't treat you like that. I went silent. He was right. I actually deserved a punch. Then he continued. You got records of everything you've paid for? Yeah. I keep spreadsheets. Force of habit from work. Good. Go home, add it all up, then shut off every damn thing you've been paying for. See how much they love you when the lights go out and Netflix stops working. So I went home, cracked open my laptop, and pulled up the file I'd been keeping for years. I'd been labeling everything. Materials, labor, costs per job. I'd categorized everything. Cross-referenced dates with bank statements, even color-coded by type of expense. Row after row of transactions stared back at me. Mortgage payments. $1,647 monthly for 38 months straight. That's $62,586 right there. Enough to buy a decent truck, cash. Utility transfers averaging $350 monthly. Tommy's emergencies in their own special category. Car repairs, legal fees, rent money, grocery money when Candace spent the food budget on designer purses and girls' weekends. Dad's truck payments when his credit was shot. Mom's credit card bills when her shopping addiction outpaced Dad's unemployment checks. Holiday contributions for gatherings I was barely included in, except as the guy who made them financially possible. The numbers painted a picture I'd been too close to see clearly. Every emergency that became my emergency. Every temporary situation that became permanent. Total family subsidies over 4 years. $127,340. I stared at that number until it burned itself into my retinas. That was a house down payment, a brand new truck, a year traveling. Instead, I'd been buying my family's comfort. Time to end this BS. I started with the streaming services, because that would be the first thing they'd notice, and I wanted them to understand this wasn't an accident. Netflix, removed their profiles, changed the password, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, deleted. Spotify Family Plan, back to ads for you jerks. Each cancellation was documented in my spreadsheet with timestamps. Then I got to the utilities. Called each company's customer service line, navigated their systems like I'd done it 100 times before. I need to remove automatic payment authorization for account number. May I ask the reason for the change, sir? Change in financial arrangements. Effective immediately. The joint checking account took a phone call to customer service. I need to freeze all cards associated with this account. Suspected fraudulent activity. What type of fraudulent activity, sir? Unauthorized users treating me like their personal ATM while serving my dinner to strangers. I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat that? Just freeze the cards. By 2 a.m., I disconnected my financial life from theirs. Every autopay, every shared service, every safety net I'd been providing for 4 years was gone. It felt like taking off a weighted vest I'd been wearing so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to breathe normally. I went to bed and slept like a baby for the first time in 4 years. Friday morning started beautifully quiet. No texts asking for money, no calls about emergencies, no requests for small favors. Just silence. That lasted until about 10 a.m. Tommy called first. I let it ring through to voicemail. Yo, Alaric, something's messed up with Netflix. Candace can't log into her profile and it's saying the account doesn't exist. You probably just forgot to pay the bill or something. Handle it, would you? His tone was like I was customer service for his entertainment needs. No apology for yesterday, no acknowledgement that maybe they'd treated me like garbage. 20 minutes later, Dad called. Alaric, the bank called about the mortgage payment. Says there's an issue with the automatic transfer. Probably just a computer glitch, but you know I don't understand that technical stuff. Give them a call when you get a chance, would you? Still no apology. By noon, the texts were coming fast and frantic. They started panicking. Mom, honey, the power company called. Something about a declined payment. Can you sort this out? I'm sure it's just a mistake. Tommy, dude, seriously, what's wrong with the Wi-Fi? Candace is freaking out because she can't upload her photos from yesterday. Candace, somehow she had my number now. Alaric, this is ridiculous. Tommy says you handle the internet bill, but nothing's working. I have a business to run. Right. Her business was selling diet shakes on Instagram to her 50 followers, most of whom were probably bots anyway. I was replacing a furnace in some rich lady's basement when the real panic started. My last contractor said this was impossible without tearing up half the basement, she said, watching me thread new ducts through a space that looked too small for anything. Most contractors don't like problem solving, I replied. I do. My phone was buzzing every few minutes, but I kept it on silent. You don't half-ass a job because of personal drama. When I finally checked my phone during lunch break, there were 18 missed calls and 31 text messages. The progression was like watching dominoes fall. Tommy, yo, what the hell is going on? Everything's shut off. Dad, Alaric, call me right now. There's some kind of billing emergency. Candace, this is unacceptable. How am I supposed to run my business without the internet? Do you know how much money I'm losing right now? The last one from Mom made me laugh out loud. Alaric, call me right now. The electric company says they're shutting off power tomorrow if we don't. Pay $847. This isn't funny anymore. She was right. It wasn't funny. It was absolutely hilarious. By Saturday, they'd figured out this wasn't some billing mistake, and the real show began. Dad showed up at my apartment at 8 p.m., pounding on the door like he was serving a warrant. I could see him through the peephole, red-faced and pacing like a caged animal. When I opened the door, he pushed past me, looking around my place like he was searching for evidence of a crime. We need to talk, right now. Evening, Dad. I stayed calm, grabbed 2 waters from the fridge, set one on the coffee table for him. Have a seat. You look stressed. The gesture threw him off. He'd come here ready for a fight, but I wasn't giving him one. Don't give me that smart-ass stuff, Alaric. You know exactly why I'm here. The mortgage payment bounced. The electric bill's overdue. Your mother's having a panic attack because she thinks we're losing the house. I sat down, opened my laptop, pulled up my spreadsheet. Dad, before we continue, I want to show you something. Take a look at this. I don't want to look at... Dad. My voice was quiet but firm. Sit down and look at the screen. Something in my voice made him comply. He dropped into the chair, still glaring, but he was looking at my laptop now. This is every payment I've made to support this family over the last 4 years. Tell me what you see. He squinted at the screen, his anger slowly being replaced by something that looked like nausea. Do you see the total at the bottom, Dad? Do you have any idea how much money I've given this family over the last 4 years? We never asked for charity. That's not what I asked. Do you know the dollar amount? He shifted uncomfortably. We've always paid you back when we could. Dad, the number. I don't keep track of every $127,340. All the color drained out of his face like someone had pulled a plug. $127,000, Dad. More than you've made in the last 2 years combined. Alaric, you never asked, right? You just expected. And yesterday, when I showed up for Thanksgiving dinner, you let Mom give my food to some random chick and told me to grab a kitchen chair like I was the hired help. Your mother was just... My mother showed me exactly what I'm worth to this family. He was quiet for a long moment, trying to figure out an angle, a way to turn this back on me. So what? You're cutting us off completely? Over a seating arrangement? I'm cutting you off because you're users. All of you. You've been bleeding me dry for years while treating me like garbage. And I'm done. Son, we can work this out. Include you more in family stuff. Make you feel more appreciated. I stood up and walked to the door. Dad, I've been paying for the house you live in. I keep the lights on and the heat running. I don't need to be included. I am the family. Or at least, I was the only one acting like it. He stood up, fists clenched like he was thinking about taking a swing. Your mother will never forgive you if we lose that house. I opened the door and held it wide. Maybe Mom should have thought about that before she decided I wasn't good enough to eat with you people. You're being a selfish little prick. No, Dad. I'm putting myself first for the first time. He stormed out muttering about ungrateful kids and family loyalty. I locked the door behind him and listened to his truck peel out of the parking lot like he was 16 and mad at the world. For the first time in my adult life, I'd stood up to the old man, and the world hadn't ended. In fact, it felt pretty damn good. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Mom. When I finally listened to the voicemails, it was like getting a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Message 1, Alaric, honey, please call me back. We need to talk about this situation. Message 10, your father had chest pains last night. The stress is killing him. Is this what you want? Message 17, fine. Don't call back. But when your father dies from a heart attack, I hope you can live with yourself. Ah, yes. The classic guilt trip about Dad's chest pains. The same chest pains that miraculously appeared every time someone in the family needed to avoid responsibility for something. Wednesday brought the big guns. My cousin Ren from Mom's side. Ren was the family success story. Lawyer, nice house, 2 kids, married to a guy who wasn't a complete disaster. She called during my lunch break. Alaric, I just talked to your mom. She's really upset. I bet she is. She says you cut off all financial support without any warning. That seems a little extreme, don't you think? Ren, did she mention what she did at Thanksgiving dinner? Long pause. No. What happened? So I told her. She went silent, then said, Alaric, that's... Good God. She didn't mention that part. Funny how that detail got left out. How much money are we talking about here? Over $127,000. Another pause, longer this time. Holy crap, I had no idea. Nobody did. That was kind of the point. I'm sorry. If I'd known... God, I feel like an idiot for calling you. Thursday brought a new low. Mom showed up at my apartment with crocodile tears and a story that would have made a soap opera writer proud. Alaric, honey, please. Your father's in the hospital. I looked at her through the peephole for 30 seconds before opening the door. What happened? Chest pains. The stress of all this. The doctor says it could be his heart. She was crying. Which hospital? St. Mary's. He's asking for you. Something about Mom's performance felt off. Too rehearsed, too convenient. I'll drive over and check on him. Oh, thank God. I drove to St. Mary's and asked about Dad at the front desk. The receptionist checked her computer and gave me a confused look. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have anyone by that name admitted today. I called Mom from the parking lot. Which room is Dad in? Room 237. Why? Because the hospital has no record of him being there. Long pause. Maybe there was a mistake with the paperwork. And Alaric? Maybe while you're there, you could call the bank about the mortgage? Just to buy us some time? And there it was. Mom, cut the crap. You're trying to manipulate me again. How dare you accuse me of... I hung up and drove home, feeling stupid. 20 minutes later, Dad called me from his cell phone. Alaric, I heard you came by the hospital looking for me. Yeah, funny thing about that. The hospital had no record of you being there. Well, they discharged me already. I'm feeling much better. Dad, you were never there, were you? Silence. This is really pathetic, even for you guys. Alaric, we're desperate. We don't know what else to do. Have you tried getting jobs? Like normal adults? It's not that simple. Sure it is. You want money, you work for money. Foreign concept, I know. That weekend brought the final act of their desperation. Sabotage. I came home Friday night to find my truck's tires slashed, and selfish prick keyed into the side. Security cameras in my complex caught Tommy doing it around 3 p.m., probably figuring I'd be at work and wouldn't see him. I filed a police report and had him arrested for vandalism. When the cops called Mom to tell her Tommy was in jail, she called me screaming. How could you have your own brother arrested? Over some stupid truck? Pretty easily, actually. He was just upset. He didn't mean anything by it. He meant to cost me money to fix my truck. Mission accomplished. The bail is $500. Can you... I hung up on her. Tommy spent the weekend in jail because nobody else could afford bail, and I spent the weekend getting estimates to fix my truck. Total damage, $2,800. I made sure to send him the bill. The next few weeks were like watching people lose their minds when the free money stopped coming. Mom started calling my boss at work, claiming there was a family emergency, and demanding he send me home to deal with it. My boss, Tony, was an old-school Italian who'd built his company from nothing over 30 years. Guy had seen every kind of workplace drama and BS excuse in the book. Tony called me into his office after the third call that morning. Alaric, your mother called again? Says your father's dying and you won't come home? Tony was leaning back in his chair, studying me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. Tony, my father is fine. My family's having financial problems because I stopped paying their bills, so now they're trying to get me fired. I laid it out straight. Tony stared at me for a long moment, then started laughing. Jesus Christ, kid. That's why I like you. No filter. I don't see the point in lying to you. Exactly. That's why you're running the Morrison Project instead of guys who've been here longer. He leaned forward. Your family sounds crazier than mine, and my brother once tried to sell my truck while I was at work. But son, if she calls here again, I'm telling her to buzz off. We got work to do, and you're too valuable to lose over their drama. Meanwhile, Tommy was facing actual consequences for the first time in his adult life. Candace dumped him the day his credit cards got declined at some expensive restaurant, apparently deciding that a broke loser with vandalism charges wasn't the upgrade she'd been looking for. Without my financial support, he had to move back in with mom and dad, which created a beautiful feedback loop of misery. 3 adults with no money, living in a house they couldn't afford, blaming everyone except themselves for their situation. Finn was loving every minute of it. This is better than cable, he said one day while we were installing a new system. Your family's losing their minds and you're over here living your best life. And I was. For the first time in years, I could actually save money, plan for the future, think about what I wanted instead of constantly putting out other people's fires. I bought professional-grade tools I'd been wanting, took weekend trips without worrying about emergency phone calls, even started dating a woman named Amanda who managed the supply house we used for most of our commercial jobs. Amanda was smart as hell. The first time I met her, she caught an error in a contractor's order that would have cost them $10,000 in wrong equipment. When I complimented her eye for detail, she just shrugged and said, "Math doesn't lie, and neither do spec sheets." We started grabbing coffee after work, talking about everything except my family drama. She had her own place, her own business, her own goals. When I finally told her about the Thanksgiving situation, her response was perfect. So you stopped enabling people who were taking advantage of you? Good. I don't date guys who don't know their own worth. But my family wasn't done yet. Not even close. 3 months after Thanksgiving, they pulled their final, most pathetic card through social media. Mom created a Facebook post that was a masterpiece of manipulation. Heartbroken tonight. Sometimes your children grow up and forget where they came from. We're facing losing our family home, and our eldest son has turned his back on us in our time of greatest need. I don't know where we went wrong as parents, praying for forgiveness and for his heart to soften. Family, first, prodigal son, praying for my boy. The post got dozens of sympathetic comments from relatives and family friends who had no idea about the real situation. People were calling me everything from heartless to ungrateful to a disappointment to the family name. My Aunt Carol, Dad's sister, called me directly. Alaric, I saw your mother's post. How could you abandon your family like this? Carol, did she mention that I've given them $127,000 over the last 4 years? She said you helped out sometimes, but sometimes? I've been paying their mortgage for 3 years. Their utilities, their streaming services, Tommy's legal fees, his rent, his car repairs, all of it. That can't be right. I have all the records if you want to see. Pause. Wait, I need to talk to them. She hung up. She called back 2 hours later. Alaric, I owe you an apology. I had no idea. Your parents, they weren't entirely honest about the situation. The Facebook post backfired when other family members started asking questions and getting the real story. By the end of the week, Mom had deleted it, but not before my cousin David screenshotted it and shared it in our family group chat with the caption, "Before you judge Alaric, maybe ask him for his side of the story." Now here's the beautiful part, and when the tables really turned. It all happened in April. I got a call from Ren, my lawyer cousin, and she sounded professional. Alaric, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Always am with you, Ren. The money you gave your parents over the years, did you ever sign anything? Any loan agreements, promissory notes, anything in writing? No, but I've got 4 years of documentation on every payment, categorized and cross-referenced. Good God, you kept records of all of it. Spreadsheets, bank statements, even screenshots of text where they asked for money. Long pause. Alaric, they're talking about suing you for breach of verbal contract. But if you've got that level of documentation, they just handed me a nuclear weapon. Do you want me to represent you? What's your rate? For family? Free. But Alaric, if they actually file this lawsuit, I'm going scorched earth. I'll demand financial discovery on everything. Their income, expenses, assets, debts. Your documentation means I can prove they were living beyond their means and using you as their personal bank. They have no idea what they're about to step into. I smiled. Do it. They filed the lawsuit 3 weeks later. Ren's response was everything I could have hoped for. She demanded 4 years of financial records from my parents, showing every expense, every source of income, every bill paid and by whom. She requested depositions from Tommy, Candace, even my cousin David. The discovery process was awesome. Ren got access to their bank records, their credit card statements, everything. What came out was exactly what I'd been dealing with. 2 adults and their adult son living way beyond their means, funding their lifestyle through their other son's money. The best part was Tommy's deposition. Ren grilled him for 3 hours about his employment history, his expenses, and his contributions to the household. By the end, he looked like he'd been hit by a truck. So, Mr. Sullivan, in the 4 years your brother was providing financial support to your family, how much money did you contribute to household expenses? Maybe a few $100s? When I had jobs. And how many jobs did you have in those 4 years? 7 or 8. How many did you quit versus being fired? I wasn't fired that many times. How many times? 5, maybe 6. Ren had records of Tommy's arrests, his evictions, and his employment history. She had documentation of every emergency I'd paid for, every crisis I'd resolved. She even had screenshots of his social media posts, bragging about expensive purchases during periods when I was paying his rent. The lawsuit lasted 6 months and cost my parents $15,000 in legal fees before they finally dropped it. Their lawyer, some bottom feeder who advertised on bus benches, withdrew from the case when he realized how frivolous it was. But we weren't done. Ren filed a countersuit for harassment and demanded my parents pay my legal costs, which they couldn't, obviously, because they didn't have any money. Mom and Dad had to sell the house anyway, not because I wouldn't pay for it, but because they'd taken out a second mortgage the year before to pay for Tommy's business ventures and couldn't afford either payment without my help. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in the worst part of town. Tommy got a job at a gas station and suddenly discovered what actual work felt like. I used the money I'd been hemorrhaging to their disasters to put a down payment on my own house. Found a place with good bones that needed work. Perfect for a guy who actually knew how to fix things. Upgraded the electrical, installed a new HVAC system myself, built custom storage in the garage for my tools. Amanda helped with the design work, working together on something we both wanted instead of constantly fixing other people's messes. Game changer. Finn came by to see the finished product, walked through shaking his head. This is what happens when you stop throwing good money after bad people, he said. You actually build something worth having. For my birthday this year, Amanda organized a barbecue with Finn, Tony, and some other guys from work. We grilled steaks, talked shop, and watched the game. Real friends who appreciated my company without expecting anything from my wallet. The card they gave me was signed by everyone. Happy birthday to someone who knows what he's worth and won't settle for less. I never spoke to my family again. I cut ties for good. Once I understood what real family looks like and realized how they never qualified. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.